Welcome to our Leadership Live Lunch and Learn. Today is so important for you as a leader, as a professional who is also a non native speaker, because there are certain things that you have to deal with that your colleagues who are native speakers don't. Whether you're the CEO or you're a manager or you're hoping to go up in leadership positions, the tip I'm going to share with you today is going to help you be better prepared, more confident, and just feel so much better about your communication skills and about your English and about your career prospects. If we haven't met yet, my name is Tanya Suarez, and I'm a communication coach, and I specifically work with non native speakers to help you communicate effectively and lead with confidence. Now, something I want to announce is the summer program I have running right now for leadership communication. This is fantastic. It starts May 1st. It runs for 12 weeks, except for the week of July 4th. And it's going to be such an amazing, intensive, exclusive program. Very few seats open. So if you're interested, make sure to go to tanyasuarez.com leadership. Now, what we're going to talk about today is your morning routine. This is crucial for you, not only for leadership, but more so because of the language component. As a non native speaker, you have to do everything your counterparts do, but in another language. And that, even at the highest levels of fluency, it's still extra effort. So the leaders that I work with are tend to be very confident about their leadership skills in their native language, but whether it's because their company got acquired or expanding, or they've secured a position in a company where now they're speaking English all day, every day, it's different. It's different. And something that you don't usually focus on is your energy levels. You need more energy. More energy is required to perform in more languages. So, this is something that is really small. A morning routine, the one we're going to discuss today, it can be as short as 5 minutes. It can be as long as 20 minutes. I really don't recommend more for this particular exercise because you want it to be something you can replicate, something you want to do every single day, even on weekends. Okay, so the thing about the morning routine is something that's really important for communication is rest. A rested mind is a clear mind. However, as someone who has a really hard time with being consistent with sleep, I understand that telling you to sleep better or sleep more isn't always realistic. If you're a good sleeper, that's amazing for you, and I am so jealous. But regardless of your sleep, because that's something that isn't always in your control, whether you are a parent and you have other family duties that require you, sometimes if your child is sick, you have to stay up later, whether you are an insomniac like I am, and sometimes you just can't fall asleep, or you have, like, whatever the case is, I want to make sure you have something that you have control over. Sometimes sleep routines are not it. That can be a different lunch and learn. For today, we're going to work on something you can control. Regardless of how you sleep, your morning routine can set the tone for your day. So let's take a look at what the first step is. The first thing I want you to do is I want you to start your day with a guided meditation in English. There are guided meditations in all kinds of languages. There are wonderful meditations that don't speak. For you, I want you to wake up and activate your English brain in a way that does not make you feel pressured. You don't have to perform in English. You don't have to memorize or learn anything. You're simply activating your brain in a way that is connecting calm confidence with English in the subliminal way. So I recommend, and this is something that I do, because again, I don't like to recommend anything that I haven't done and tested myself and have had other clients do. I recommend 10 minutes. There are guided meditations that are longer, but again, I want you to make sure you at least have that video on YouTube that you can always go to. It could be the Calm app, it could be YouTube, like whatever you want. I'm not currently sponsored by anyone, so you can use whatever resource that you need. 10 minutes is good because it's long enough to make sure you're stretching that attention span in English. It's short enough that you can realistically do. For example, I do it and I don't like sitting still very often. So I do my guided meditation while I'm making my bed. So get up, Get your guided meditation on. I recommend about 10 minutes, and you're going to make the bed. Maybe you're making your coffee. Maybe you want to combine it with stretching. So, what this does is you're listening to English, you're perceiving in English, you're starting your day without translating, especially if you use the same guided meditation. And you can use whether it's the same or different, they're all kind of in the same topic. So, what this does is there's no pressure to translate, no pressure to really understand things that are unfamiliar, no business jargon. So you're activating your English brain in a way that is so calming. And so this is something where, like I mentioned before, you don't always have control over your sleep. And again, if you do, amazing, please send me tips. So having control over your morning routine, regardless of what time you wake up, again, maybe you're the ambitious morning person who wakes up at 4 a.m. Good for you. Maybe you wake up at 9. I don't know. Whatever time you wake up, whatever works for you, this is a routine that you can implement that will help you perform better the rest of your day. So you're going to start with a 10-minute guided meditation. And if you want, you know what, I'll make a list of some of my favorite videos that I use, and that way you have something to start with. And it can be about, sometimes there are different topics. It can be about self-love. It can be about gratitude. If this is not something that you normally do and it feels too like positive and happy and that's not your personal mantra, that's fine. There are literally thousands of videos. Find something that resonates with you, not something that you get defensive about. And I say that because sometimes I feel that there's certain videos with mantras or guided meditations that don't feel genuine to my personality, and they make me not start off with good energy. So I stopped doing those. Find ones that resonate with you. Now, after you do that, I want you to read. It could be one page, it could be one section, it could be one chapter, but read something from either a leadership book or a leadership article. Again, what this does is we're warming up the brain, we're starting the brain where you're not forcing yourself to translate. And so, without the translation, without the pressure of having to perform in English, we're getting the brain used to and making that connection of English equals calm confidence. English equals positivity, and then that'll lead to productivity. So what you're going to do here is you're going to read it, and what this does is you're learning. You're increasing your leadership skills as a non-native speaker. You're ingesting all of this grammar and vocabulary in a way that you're not studying it, because I don't want you to start your day studying. No pressure, but you're learning. And it's a really cool process. Something that I do lately, I've tried to do one chapter, but sometimes that takes too long, or I'm just not, my attention's not awake yet. So I've even said, okay, let me just do one section. Whatever works for you, but make it feasible so that you can do it every day. That's why I didn't put here, read one chapter every day, because if it's a full chapter and you happen to be busy one day, it's kind of like when you skip the gym because you're too busy. One day turns into 2 days, turns into 2 months. We don't want that. So I always want to have different tiers to where you could do a 5-minute guided meditation, one paragraph, and then the third activity that I have for you. Other days when you have more time, or maybe your weekends, when you want to spend a more relaxed way of doing this, you can do a 20-minute guided meditation. You can read 5 chapters. So this is something that's going to be flexible so that you can always have that English success in the morning. And that's going to feel really good. And then it's going to snowball that effect. Now, the third thing I want you to do is I want you to read one sentence 3 times. This is one of the best things you can do, because it activates your English muscles. So first we wake up and we activate our English brain. Then we read and we activate our English leadership and our energy and our knowledge. Then with this exercise, and again, one sentence 3 times, it takes literally 20 seconds, maybe 40 seconds max. But what this does is we wake up, no pressure. You're not thinking about what to say, the words, the grammar, it's all there for you. I recommend whatever you're reading for the day, pick one sentence that you like. Now, the process of this is where you're going to get maximum benefit. And you've probably heard me talk about this before if you've seen any of my videos. The first time you read it, it's going to be a little awkward because you're getting that out. And this is probably the first time you're going to speak in the day, so it's also going to be your throat warming up. So you're going to read the sentence. Relax your shoulders. The second time you read it, it's going to be about intonation. Remember, with American English, you're not going to read the whole sentence in one breath. Our rhythm is usually every 2 to 5 words That's where there's going to be a little bit of a pause or a little bit of a break. So you're going to experiment with the intonation. You're going to emphasize a word that you think is important and kind of feel it. The third time, this is where I want you to visualize. This is where you activate your leadership voice. So, depending on the sentence, think about the context. Are you saying this conversationally with a colleague? Are you talking to your team? Are you in a meeting presenting to the executive board? Put yourself in those situations because it changes your posture, your energy, and your intonation because then you're going to read it out loud in a way that then you start experimenting with, okay, what does it sound like when I have to convey this content to a specific person in a specific situation? And it's such a small practice, but it's something I make all of my clients record themselves doing this and text it to me every day because it's that important. And it's so simple that you can do it literally the rest of your life because it's easy to do and you can change the topic. Maybe on the weekends, you want to practice with reading a sentence that's about one of your hobbies, about something that you're passionate about, because then you're also getting the English that you need to have casual small talk. During the week, you can read from a leadership book to work on your leadership skills. Something really simple you can do that I also recommend is read a sentence from your company's website. Your company has spent, as someone with a public relations background, your company has spent big bucks to choose very specific words that are important to their image, that are important to their client relations. So using the sentences from your company's website is valuable because you get the words that are important to the company, that when you use them, when you're participating in meetings, when you're leading meetings, it really makes you feel like a very good culture fit. And that can put you in a position where maybe you can get more promotions or more opportunities. If you're already at the top, it really creates this sense of cohesiveness that you understand the values of the company, which helps you then help your team and your employees to also understand that and get on board. So these are not difficult, right? These are really tiny things that you can do. But if you do this in this sequence every morning, it's amazing. So again, we're going to review. You're going to wake up, you're going to do a 5 to 10 minute guided meditation. You can do longer ones, but I'd recommend doing those on the weekend. During the week, we want to make sure it's something short and effective that you can do and not feel guilty or feel that you don't have time for it. I recommend combine it with movement. If you enjoy that kind of peaceful, mindful setting, great. That's not natural to me, so I have to move. I usually combine it with doing it, making the bed while I'm listening to the guided meditation or stretching. So these are ways that you can, regardless of how rested your mind is, you're going to make it feel rested. Because let me just tell you, trying to speak your native language when you're tired is not optimal. I had a situation recently, which is why I wanted to do this training today, is I I was exhausted. I hadn't slept well for a few days, and I went somewhere and met new people. And even though this is what I do all day, every day, I was so tired that I felt like it was like an outer body experience. Where I was like, is this really me trying to make new friends? Like the way I was asking questions was just so awkward. I remember I asked someone new, what was I saying? I was just like, so what do you do? And I kind of stumbled on my word. I'm like, what do you do for fun? And even as it came out, I'm like, I don't feel like myself. I'm exhausted. Like the vibe was not there. And so it really made me something it just made me remember all the times that when I'm working with people, when they're tired, English becomes such a labor. And it's like you're walking through, like you're sinking in mud as you're trying to figure out what words to choose. So being able to have some control over that. When you're doing the guided meditation, you're working on your breath. You're calming your heart rate. So what this does is it gives you the physical tool, the physical muscle memory to when you get nervous or you're exhausted later, you go back to that practice and you're able to perform and deliver because your company doesn't care if you're tired or not. They need you. They need your expertise. So this is a really great way to give yourself the tools to then activate that calm confidence, that rested mindset, regardless of how you feel. And again, I want you to make sure you create this in a way that is doable. So for the first one, the guided meditation, keep it at 5 to 10 minutes. I usually just go on YouTube and Google 10-minute guided meditation. Do it in English. Remember, they're going to have it in your native language, but we want to activate the English mind. Then you're going to read. I recommend a leadership book or article, and I'll put some of my recommendations together. Like I think Radical Candor is a really good one by Kim Scott. Um, what's another one I usually recommend? If you're overwhelmed, I Essentialism is great. So you want to pick a book that like resonates with where you are. If you're doing negotiations, Never Split the Difference is a great one. So I'll put a list together for you. It doesn't even have to be a book. It could be an Instagram caption. Go on Instagram and see people that you follow that talk about leadership and just read that caption. Like it doesn't have to be anything fancy or overdone. It could be your company's website. For example, if you work for Amazon, read the leadership principles out loud. So anything that has to do with what you need. If you're going to give a presentation that day, read part of your presentation notes out loud, or just read those. And then you can do it out loud for the third step. Some other great thing, like I don't recommend reading the news. Um, you want to activate your business brain and you want to connect that with your relaxed meditative state. So that's why I want to make sure that it has something to do with leadership communication, your position. Maybe if you're working with a client, read the website from their company just to get yourself more familiar with their work, because that's another way where you're ingesting like what the words that reflect their values, which then when you do the speaking practice, you're able to connect. Oh, it's just so powerful. Like you see where I'm going with this, right? Like you build it in a way that's authentic to your needs and your personality. And then for the third step is you're going to read one sentence 3 times. First time is awkward, second time you're getting into the intonation, and the third time is about the delivery. You have to visualize. I don't want you to just say it correctly. I don't want you to just read it well. It's about reading it, but in a way that's conversational, because you want to exercise that voice, whether if it's something casual, you want to exercise like your personality in a more casual setting. If it's something business related, you want to exercise how do you sound when you're sharing those leadership tips or important company information. It's different. The way you emphasize words, the way you deliver messages in your native language is going to be different than what's expected or what's effective in American English. So this gives you that safe space to explore that so that you don't have to think about it and you start developing this automatic executive presence in English. All right, that's it. We're going to keep today short because that literally, if you watch this video, this is about how long your morning routine should be. Do this every day, even on weekends. On weekends, have a little fun, do topics that are interesting to you, but doing this every day, you'll wake up more rested. You'll wake up without feeling the pressure. So many of my clients tell me, especially when they make the switch to doing all of their leadership work in English, they wake up with so much anxiety, and that breaks my heart because I know that they're good leaders, but they get so in their head about the pressure and about not being able to communicate clearly that they're waking up with anxiety. They're going to sleep with anxiety. So this is a way to overcome that, because an anxious brain does not help you communicate clearly and effectively. A calm brain does. A rested brain is wonderful, but I don't have control over that for you. So you work on your sleep and I'll give you the morning routine. So this is going to help you feel calmer. When your heart rate is accelerated, your brain goes into fight or flight. It is the worst state of mind to be creative and come up with solutions that you need to, or just like be there for your team in a way that you can create an awesome environment for them to thrive. And doing that practice, it's really powerful. I remember when I started doing this before I wanted, because I wanted to try it before I coached it, is the effect. It was so awesome. It took about a month or two until I realized that the breathing that I was doing from the guided meditations, I was activating when I was feeling anxious throughout the day. And my body just like knew what to do because it had practiced that in the morning. It was so powerful. Even now, like if you follow me on Instagram, you see me do my breath work, my calming work before any of my lives, because I'm talking to thousands of people live. It's a lot of pressure. I want to be able to deliver, but whether it's I'm excited or I'm tired or I get nervous, the breath work that has stemmed from doing this consistently of the guided meditations has been so powerful. Doing the reading, it it's a way for you to improve your grammar, grow your vocabulary in a way that doesn't feel like you're a student studying. And look, you're in a leadership position. You probably don't have time to sit there and study consistently every day. So this is a way where you're not trying to learn all of English, you're improving the English that's important to your daily life and work. And on the weekends, I mean serious, don't always do just work. On the weekends, do things that are fun because Americans value small talk so much, and the casual moments when you bond with your employees, when you bond with your team over your hobbies, over your interests, that sets a really great communication foundation so that then later on when you have to have more serious business discussions, you're able to do that in a much more genuine and comfortable way. Okay, thank you so much for joining me. I'm going to look at the comments really quick, see if you're anything I can do to help. Yes. So doing the guided meditations in English, it's helpful for native speakers, but for non-native speakers, because some of my clients were doing them, but they were doing them in their native language. And as soon as I made the switch to English, it was just really powerful because you stop compartmentalizing English. You stop thinking of it as this is something I do in a really anxious mindset during these hours. You extend it. English is just what you think, what you do, what you feel, and it can be transformative in how effectively you communicate. Oh, I love this quote. Knowledge of languages is the doorway to wisdom. Yes. And the cool thing about English is because it's become kind of this universal default for business and for other just I feel like a lot of things are translated into English from other languages. You have access to so much more. You have access to so many cultures, to so much knowledge, to so much, even from the leadership perspective, you get so much because everything is translated into English. So, this allows you to take advantage of it. All right, let's see here. A piece of advice on how to unlock your hi Leo of how to unlock your English. Okay, so after 16 months, you feel like you're plateauing. So what I would recommend there if I would ask you to ask yourself, how much are you studying versus how much are you speaking? A lot of times when people plateau is because they're doing passive learning. You're watching all your shows in English, you're listening to podcasts, you're reading, but all of that's passive. And so what happens is then when you open your mouth, you still have this intermediate or upper intermediate level English when you're expecting advanced because you consume everything in English. So, in order to speak English better, you have to speak English more. If you don't have access to a conversation partner or you don't speak English at work that much, that's fine. Or maybe you're too nervous to do that right now. Read out loud. Two things I would recommend for you. Number one, do what I did today with the like reading and then reading out loud. You can do one sentence for 3 times. For you, if you're trying to level up because you're feeling like you're stuck, the other two things you can do is you can read for 1 minute. So one sentence 3 times, that's to enhance your natural speech and your intonation. Reading for 1 minute, what that does is it forces you to feel comfortable when you're uncomfortable because you're not practicing it and doing it over again. So it forces you to not be sure about a pronunciation, but having to say it confidently and move on. And then the other thing I would recommend for you is, I'm trying to think. I have a website, but I'll put it in the notes for this lesson. Answer a random question every day. You can Google random question generator. You can Google random questions for small talk. Pick a random question. I'll do with my clients. They're in lists. So like, all right, pick a number. So if they pick 27, I ask them the question. You can just read it yourself and answer it without preparation. So then you've got these 3 levels of practice. What that does is it allows you to speak about a different topic every day and kind of see where your weaknesses are. If you're like, oh, I could talk about that topic really easily, or, oh, I have no idea how to answer that. So that's going to help you pinpoint where to then choose to work on your communication. Great question. Because you're learning on your own? Yeah, but you know what? Learning on your own doesn't have to be, an obstacle. It's just you have to change the way you learn. So try the 3 things that I mentioned because that's going to really help you take your passive learning and making it more active. Because English is not only the knowledge, but it's the muscle memory. It's sure, you could probably have all the words that you need in your brain, but if you've never said them, you don't know if you're pronouncing it correctly. And then when you try to do it, you're second guessing yourself and you're like, did I say that correctly? Is that where I'm supposed to use it? What grammar structure do? It's a whole mess, right? So you have to work through that, and the best thing I can tell you is open your mouth more. Excellent. All right. Thank you so much for joining me for today's live lunch and learn. One more thing for you is if you need, and actually, Leo, this is great for you, for really elevating your pronunciation, which is really important at the leadership level. It's to be confident about your fluidity and pronunciation. Download this masterclass. I go over the American R and the TH because those are the two sounds that at every level people need work with. But most importantly, I want you to really focus on the section about connected speech. That's going to really enhance the practice that we talked about today. Really get more comfortable with intonation and getting some. For those of you who like rules, there are certain rules for connected speech that will help you identify those moments so that when you're doing your practice and your intonation, it sounds more natural and fluid. Thank you so much. Make sure to let me know in the comments if we haven't met yet, where you're from, what you do for work. Let me know what are some other videos that I can make for you to help you feel more confident about your leadership communication. Have a wonderful day.